Hi there everybody, welcome to another stock analysis video. In this episode, we are going to cover how to use the discounted free cash flow calculator. I mentioned earlier this week that I wanted to make a specific video just so that way everybody knows that this is where it is if you want it, instead of just putting the spreadsheet into every single video. Now you just have one consolidated place where to find it. So if anybody wants to know, you can find it on this video. But I want to also go over how to use this calculator because it is, even though it is very straightforward, somebody may still want to know how to use it. So I'm just going to cover all bases right here. All right. So with that said, let's get started. Starting off, the first thing that we're going to do is over here on the left, columns A, B, C, and D. First things first, you want to put the ticker symbol of the company that you essentially would like to analyze. For all intents and purposes, I'm going to be doing Apple in this scenario, since Apple is by far one of the most, is the most established company in the world. And as soon as you do this, the PE TTM, which stands for trailing 12 months, will essentially come up, and this is actually taken from Google Finance. And also the market cap will also be taken from Google Finance as well. The next thing that you want to do is you want to put in the annual dividends per share. Now, in my personal one, I have it in a way that it automatically picks the dividends per share based on a macro that another content creator that I really like, his name is Investing Sensei, he essentially made a macro that can pull the dividend from Seeking Alpha. In this case, however, you essentially have to input it in manually. So coming over here to Seeking Alpha, we have the annual dividend payout is 88 cents. So then you would come over here and then you would just put 0.88, and that is essentially the annual dividends per share. Now, these other tabs are going to be filled. The amounts paid in dividends per year, the dividend affordability, and the payout ratio based on cash flow are going to get filled out as soon as we fill out the other fundamentals such as net income and cash flow. Now, coming over here to this side of the calculator, the first thing to know is anything in red from column H to column R, anything that you see in deep red like this, you essentially have to input that number. Starting off with the growth assumption, this is something that you input by yourself. This is what I'm always saying from Seeking Alpha, that the revenue growth year over year is this much. Then I'm going to be a little bit more conservative, because you always want to make sure that you are taking everything into account. For a well-established company, the odds of them making that same revenue year over year for the next 4 years is very, very slim. So you want to dial it back a little bit, so that way the price tag that you get is in the right ballpark. The next thing that we need to cover is the net income. Obviously, you're going to go to Yahoo Finance, Seeking Alpha, wherever it might be, MarketWatch, and you're going to just copy and paste the net income right here. You're going to do the same thing for cash from operations, capital expenditures, and then this is essentially going to spit out the free cash flow, which is just basically cash from operations minus the capital expenditures. Now, the other stuff that the calculator will do, it gets very, very complicated, but essentially what a discounted free cash flow calculator does is it projects future incomes, it projects future cash flow into the future by a certain amount of years that you would like. I personally prefer 4, because the further you get, the more murky it gets, right? You have no idea what in the world a company could be making 5 years from now. However, your assumption would be closer if it was only 2 years from now, right? That's just the way that it is. We can't really tell the future, and the farther away we go, the harder it is to tell. So what this calculator does is it projects the cash flows, the incomes, and the revenues into the future by X amount of years, and then we discount that back to the present by using a discount factor. And that discount factor is based on a specific number in this calculator that you also want to change. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Next, you're going to come over here, you're going to fill out the revenue. And now coming over here to the debt, you actually want to put in this current year's debt as well. So when it comes to the debt of Apple, you want to go all the way up to 2021 when it comes to debt, as well as net debt, which is very, very important, because the net debt is what we're going to use to figure out the share price after debt. Next, you're going to take the same thing, shares outstanding, and you're going to copy them all the way up to the most current one of 2021 or 2022, whichever year you might be in. And you're going to do the same for the cash equivalents. And once you have all of those numbers, the calculator will give you a value for that company as of today. And then adjusting it for debt, you're going to get today's value adjusted for debt, which dividing that by the current shares outstanding will essentially provide you today's current share price that it should be at and the target share price after debt. Now, I mentioned that there is one number here that actually changes a lot of your whole entire assumption, and that is the required rate of return. Through all of my videos that I have made for the stock analysis, I have used an 8.5 required rate of return. My reasoning for this is the market does between 7 and 10%. So I went smack down the middle at 8.5. Now, some people may not like this. Some people may want to get more of a return in the market, right? They might want to get something along the lines of like 11, 12, 15%. Again, this is really up to you, so that way you can put. Me personally, I prefer the 8.5%. And once you have all of those metrics, you will essentially get the target share price and target share price after debt. And then with the margin of safeties of 5 and 10%, you're essentially just saying, hey, this target share price after debt, take away 5%, take away 10%, take away 15%, and that's your cushion of safety. Now, I'm going to fill all of this out, and I'm going to show you how much of a difference that required rate of return does to the target share price after debt and target share price once I edit it to from 8.5 to 12. All right, so I'll see you all in a second once I fill all of this out. And now that I have essentially put in all the metrics, as you can see right here, we're getting a share price of $120.66, and adjusted for debt, it goes down to $119.50. And of course, with the margin of safety of 5, 10, 50%, we get 113, 107, and 101. But I'm not here to tell you about the target share price for Apple. We already covered that. What I really want to talk about is that let's actually see what happens when we change this required rate of return to, let's say, more than what the market usually does. Let's say around 12%. And as you can see right here, the target share price, all of them, after debt and not adjusting for debt, goes down by a significant number. And the reason for that is because the more you pay for something today, the less returns you are going to get in the future. So if you would like a 12% required rate of return for Apple, you would essentially have to buy this at $74.24. Now you're probably saying like, well, that's insane. Like, how could the stock drop that much? Well, again, all target share prices is all based on assumptions. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. If you would like a 12% return and you don't believe that Apple's growth is 10%, let's say like you actually believe the actual number from Seeking Alpha, which is like around like 30%. And if you were to say, if you were to put right here 30, well then essentially you would only have to wait till Apple drops about $10 to get required rate of return of 12%, assuming that Apple would grow at 30% for the next 4 years. Again, all target share prices is based on assumptions. Every single one. Essentially, what I like to do is be a little bit more conservative. Obviously, would like to somewhat match the market kind of halfway, because sometimes you're going to have it better, sometimes the market's going to be better than other years, and you're just trying to cut out the fat and try to come out with the best possible assumption that you won't overpay for growth. That's essentially what I do when it comes to using my discounted free cash flow. But essentially, this is it. It's out there for everybody. All I ask is if you like this kind of content, if you like this discounted free cash flow calculator, which by the way, I do plan on improving it. I do plan on putting out a real estate one for REITs, because this one does not work for real estate, utilities, banks, and some pharmaceuticals. I find that when it comes to pharmaceuticals, it's really, really difficult to gauge their price for some reason. I don't necessarily know why, but for any other company aside from those sectors, you are essentially solid. So all I ask is, if you like this kind of content, just please subscribe. I would like to get to 200 by the end of the month, 200 subscribers by the end of the month. So, I'm going to keep putting out content. I will keep putting out essentially, free calculators, I guess you could say. All I ask is just subscribe. It's free. And a like and a comment. That's it. So, alright. That pretty much does it for this episode. And I will see you all in a real stock analysis video. Alright? And I think you all will like the next stock analysis video that I got. Alright? So with that said, peace out and see you all next time.